can see me.
Yeah, okay. You can go ahead.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Can you have this from off the screen, this African forum that, or you want to leave it for the time being? Okay. Welcome to cricket lovers everywhere, wherever you are, and we hope that you will be, others will also be able to join us for this epic event. This is the EACF's Reunion Spotlight Series, Episode 1, 2023. In the commentary box, we will have myself and Tanvir. We are now in our third year of the series, and we hope to continue in future with your kind support. On March 4, we were saddened to have learned of the demise of a popular Uganda cricketer, John Nagenda. It will be recalled he was the first. He was the first indigenous cricketer to have represented East Africa in the Prudential Cricket Tournament. John was a dedicated cricket administrator in Uganda and is credited with modern-day Uganda cricket, the cricket crescents. May his soul and the souls of all our departed cricketers rest in peace. In our next program later on in the year, we intend to have a special commemorative event where we will be able to feature legendary cricketers amongst us who have passed away, and they need to be recognized. Let us hope for the best for that. Now, in today's episode, we welcome two veteran cricketers who will reminisce about their respective memorable cricket matches and experiences. Yusuf Patel, known as Yusuf Pathan from Zambia, has chosen to bat. Bill, you be ready with your ball. He's chosen to bat first. So here is his brief but incredible profile. A prolific right-hand early order batsman, and in his day, the most technically correct player in the country. A great tactician, a past captain of Metros. First non-white to have featured in the then all-white Northern Rhodesia 11. Successfully captained the Zambia team that won Sir Robert Menzies Trophy. Now, the mention of Sir Robert Menzies reminds me of a very amusable incident that happened in Dar es Salaam. I believe that I was the chairman, not the chairman, but I was the manager for Tanzania side. And he was the captain, Hamza Kasonga and all that. We will remember. Now, time permitting, this is just in case. If you have time, I will narrate the incident to you guys and show you some memorable pictures. You know, probably you have all forgotten about them. So, may I have the privilege of welcoming Yusuf Patel. Yusuf, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all the people watching this program. Thank you very much for this privilege. And the title is basically one of a most memorable match that I participated in. I think it's important at this stage to highlight the fact that when we talk about East Africa, we talk about three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. We talk about Central Africa, we talk about Zambia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. So when Smith declared UDI, our links in Zambia, Northern Rhodesia, were now severed with the South. And we had to look for pastures abroad. And then we were very grateful that the East African Cricket Conference took us into their fold, and instead of a triangular, it became a quadrangular tournament. So, and in this particular series, these test matches that we played, we had some very outstanding cricketers, outstanding players. And my personally most memorable event took place in Dar es Salaam, actually, Raza, in your country, in 1974. Originally, the Zambian team comprised people of all passport holding countries. whether they were British, South African, whatever. And then the Zambian Cricket Union, in their wisdom, decided that they wanted to field an all Zambian team, which will have weakened, considerably the Zambian team, because we had great players like Roger Henderson, John Fellows, John Fairclough, C.D. Patel, R.D. Patel, Bernie Horton, and so many more. But now we went into this tournament
Okay.
as terrible underdogs. And what happened is that the first match was between Kenya and Tanzania. So the late Majid Patel, my brother Solly, and I sat it out. We wanted to go and watch the Kenya-Tanzania match. And in the meantime, the Zambian team played against an accountant's 11 and they lost. So, we were the laughing stock and we were completely written off. But whilst we were watching the Kenya-Zambia match, we happened to study the strengths and weaknesses of the Tanzanian team whom we were playing next. And I remember on the eve of the match, a guy called Fernandez, their manager, coming up to me and giving me advice to say that, you guys are the punch bags of this tournament. And can I give you some advice? If you win the toss, you must field first, because what had happened in that Kenya-Tanzania match, the system was in 50 overs, we had to score points. I think it was 15 points for an outright win. And for every 10 overs, every 2 wickets, the bowling side got 1 point. And in after first 50 runs, every 10 overs, after every 50 runs, every 50 runs would earn an extra point. And this match turned out to be a tame draw. And the captain of the Tanzanian team, very aggressive batsman, got 100. And I think they all shared very, very few points. So in the next match, we played Tanzania and we were put into bat first. We fielded first. And their opening batsman, a very aggressive batsman, we had studied him, and I had instructed my opening bowler, Majid, to say, I wanted him to bowl me a bouncer first ball. So as I went out to toss, Majid was in the nets practicing bounces. And as we went in, the first bouncer he bowled was a beautiful bouncer, right on length, and their captain and prolific scorer went for the hook, put it straight up in the air. Yunus Badat took a simple catch at mid-on. And I think that was the end of their hopes. And then, of course, they had very, very good players. They had Pranlal in their team. They had Vasantapu in their team. So eventually what happened is that we got them out fairly cheaply. And we got them all out. So we earned 5 bowling points. I think they earned maybe 2 batting points. And then when it was our turn to bat, Yunus Badat got stuck in. And in that spell midway between the afternoon and the end of play, he scored a sparkling 88 not out. And then we had this other Yusuf Patel in our team, Tarzan, who went in there and hit some lofty sixes. He also finished up with 80 odd. And then the next morning, Yunus Badat completed his century. And then, without much ado, the next day we polished the Tanzanian team out. We won outright and we had accumulated 27 points. We were in an unassailable position, really. And our match now was against Kenya. And Kenya had their full lineup minus Zulfikar, Azhar, and Zahoor. And I think it was their absence that made things much easier for us. So Jawahir Shah was the captain of the Kenya team, and Harilal Shah was the guy that came out to toss. We had hoped that we would win the toss and send them into bat, but the reverse happened. They put us into bat first. And in the second over, Abdul Dudia, our opening batsman, ran out our star batsman, Yusuf Patel. So now it was left to me and Abdul to see out 50 overs. And we saw the 50 overs out very, very successfully without conceding any other wicket. So the Kenyan team got no batting points at all. And then, of course, we went on to got score close to 200. And it so happened that they went in now after tea, the afternoon tea, and they had 2 hours in which to bat. And we were very lucky that we got 3 or 4 of their wickets down for virtually no runs in that period. So we had already earned 2 points from them. We gave them no points at all. And the following morning, their star batsman and really one of East Africa's most outstanding batsmen, Jawahir Shah, came in, and we knew that his strength was the leg side. And it, again, we had a perfect yorker from my brother Solly, bowled him on his leg stump, and his first ball, he went to play aggressively, missed, and he had his leg stump knocked out. And the moment Jawahir was out, that was the end of the Kenyan side. So we got them out quite cheaply. And our match also turned out to be a draw. And there was no way that these guys could catch us up on their points. So, we were very happy that an all Zambian side were very successful in their first outing. And we brought the Robert Menzies trophy home against all expectations. Of course, there have been other matches that, one could say, one would remember. But my personal outstanding season was the 1963-64 season when, I was possibly at my prime. I got 16 centuries in the season. And of course, that made my way into the Zambian side in the 1968 tour to Kenya, when we went with a very, very strong side. But the Kenyans, of course, came through on that one. That was the quadrangular, the first quadrangular that Zambia played in. Subsequently, of course, when they came out here, we were on home ground, so we had a very successful run. Because we had the full Zambian team at that time. I don't know if you wish to hear any more, but certainly I've got Harun Gumra here, who you might want him to speak on other aspects of Zambia and Zambian cricket and Zambian life in general.
Yes, please go ahead, Harun.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all our viewers. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few words, particularly about Yusuf Patel, better known as Pathan. Yusuf Patel did touch on one memorable season he had, and I do remember I was still schooling at that time, 1963-64. He was in magnificent form with the bat. He came very close to achieving a world record in first-class cricket. He was magnificent form with the bat, and he slammed 16 centuries. And for our viewers watching this program, during that time, during the 60s and that, sport in general in Zambia had quite a large following. It's not only football, as we hear of now, that was followed, but we had other sports that were well organized, well administered, and had a large following. And as a result of Yusuf Patel's performance with the bat, he was actually nominated for the annual sporting awards. And these are awards where the panel looks at sports personalities across the spectrum, players who have excelled on the field of play, both men and women, in the various different sports. And Yusuf Patel, for the record, was crowned the first sportsman of the year in Zambia in 1964. And as I said earlier, and as Yusuf briefly mentioned, for his magnificent performance with the bat, when he slammed 16 centuries. Now, I'd like to take the opportunity just not to talk about other involvement of Yusuf Patel. In very, very prominent in community matters here in Lusaka in particular and Zambia in general, like currently he's trustee of two important organizations, the Lusaka Golf Club, and I might mention that despite his age, at the prime age of 84 years, is still playing golf. I believe he's playing of 9 handicap. The other organization where he's trustee is the EACF School. EACF School, situated in Lusaka, is one of the largest private Muslim schools in the whole of Southern Africa, and it has close to a student population of 1,500. I just want to mention also that during the early 70s and 80s, as a former teacher, Yusuf Patel played a very prominent role in the establishment of two major educational institutions. Initially, these were Muslim organizations, but subsequently they have opened the doors to children of other races as well. The Makeni Islamic Society are running a complex, a school, and other facilities are there, and EACF School as well. He was quite prominent, played an important role in the establishment of these institutions. So these are a few things I would like to say about Yusuf Patel, who, by the way, was my teacher when I was at primary school, which is Lotus Primary School. And then when I moved on to secondary school, the Prince Philip Secondary School, later renamed the Kamwala Secondary School.
Thank you so much, Harun. And I do recall that you are a very prominent reporter in the local newspapers. You see, I have this. Yusuf, you will remember. This is the 10th year of the Tarma World Cup, and this is the 9th year of the Tarma. I have this. This has come to me courtesy of Mohammed Natu. Now, thank you so much, Yusuf. Now, I have known you personally for many years and fondly cherish our East African memories. Looking forward to cementing our relations in future. I might add that the glorious days of TAGM Trophy and quadrangular tournament still linger in the minds of many of us. I have as I mentioned, I have the 9th and the 10th year booklets. Probably will try and digitize this and circulate if I can. No promise, okay?
That started.
All Harun has said, I can vouch that he's a very disciplined. That is, I'm talking about Yusuf, not Harun. That he's a very disciplined, committed, and deeply religious individual. He excels in affairs of the community as well as outside the community. A keen golfer also. Now, some of the pictures that Tanvir is now going to share with us will be testimony to what we have been saying. So please, and Yusuf, you will say a few words about those pictures. Don't take the whole Bible, okay?
Okay. There's Yunus Bidat in the middle, the guy that scored all those runs for us in Tanzania. Majid, now late, very, very fine all-rounder. Abdul Dudia next to him in the cap, also was my vice captain. And of course, MY here was the second non-white to play for Northern Rhodesia before we became Zambia. Musa Yusuf is now a very prominent lawyer. Musa Yusuf here is now passed on, but he was one of our stalwarts in making sure that our ground was in good condition. He was a very wealthy man, and he spent a lot of money trying to do things for the community and for the cricket section in general.
Okay, thank you so much. Did you mention Majid Pando?
Yes, Majid Pando.
Okay,
That's Majid Pando there on the left,
yeah,
standing up there, an outstanding all-rounder. Played for Zambia quite a few times, and Bill Bourne will remember him, I'm sure, very fondly.
Very much. Okay, move quickly. Zambian scored Dar es Salaam 1974, right?
This is the all Zambian team, that all conquering Zambian team, I might add, beat the mighty Kenyans. But again, as I said, without Zulfikar and Azhar and Zahur. And that was the team that
Okay.
we won the trophy. There's Tarzan there. Quite, most of these people are still alive.
Okay. Can we move on, please? This is your award for being awarded Sportsman of the Year in
That's
1960.
what Arun was
Next slide,
talking
please.
about.
Yes, that's yeah.
And the gentleman that gave us that trophy was Simon Kapwepwe. He was our first vice president and
Okay.
foreign minister.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Right.
in that picture.
This picture here is the Zambian team that went to Uganda in 1975, and we very interesting is that after our sojourn in 74, Mahbub Ali, Bubi as he was popularly known, was the manager of the Kenyan side that came to Uganda, and the Zambian team had already arrived. We were in the lobby of the hotel. And as the Kenyan team came in, we waved to them from the top, and Bubi pointed up to the bearded figure on the balcony and said, if I see any Kenyan guy talking to that fellow with a beard, you're not going to be playing. So I felt that was a very big compliment that Bubi paid me.
Very nice. Thank you.
So I'm Chris English and I'm in that picture. I played in that game in 1975.
All right.
Okay.
This is
And
something.
Yusuf is my captain.
So this picture is where is the picture of all the senior citizens who are not interested in positions in government, but are wanting fair play and fair elections. So the 10 of us that belong, are trustees of a former organization called OSIDA, where we are the watchdogs, and we watch the performances of the president and the governments. So we are, people that make or break presidents, and our president in the center with the red tie. And of course, we took pictures with him at State House. And the next picture is one of me and him alone. This was when the Muslim community visited him, and he was very gracious enough to host us. Now, this picture here features a very prominent cricketer, captain of England, ex-captain of England, Philippe Edmonds, very prominent businessman. Philippe was a 15-year-old schoolboy when he first played with us in the Midlands cricket team. And he had so much talent that you can see at the age of 15, he played for Midlands and went on to captain England, a very formidable and a very likable cricketer.
Next slide.
This is taken in 1991 when Kaunda hosted a dinner for the entire Indian community. On the right-hand side, we've got Jotindra Nai, he was the chairman of the Hindu Association, and myself, the chairman of the Muslim Association. And the first president of Zambia hosted a dinner for the Indian community so that, we could possibly support him in his bid to come back when multipartyism was first introduced in Zambia. Unfortunately, he lost, but, we had a good relationship with him.
Right. Is that Yusuf Patel? Pathan?
This is me now. This is me now.
Okay. We wish you a healthy life, okay, Yusuf? Thank you so much for that. Now, the next item will be to introduce and welcome William Bourne, fondly remembered as Bill from Barbados and Zambia, to bowl his maiden over. Let us see if he can still hold the same ferocious bowling tempo. Now, just a brief introduction. Bill was an opening bowler and lower order batsman. He was one of the leading bowlers of the West Indies youth team on their unbeaten tour of England in 1970. He played at first with Barbados and then with Warwickshire during the 1970s. After leaving Warwickshire, he moved to Zambia and represented East Africa in 1982 ICC Trophy. Now that was very interesting. Please welcome Bill Bourne. Bill, you're on.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon and good night or good morning to whoever. Great to be here and to share some experiences with you. Yusuf, very good history you have, and something that could be hopefully replicated by many youngsters now. Not only your cricket, but your work in the community. Right, we talk about memorable events and memorable moments in sport, and mine happens to be actually when I first played for Barbados, representative cricket, and that would have been at the under 21 level. I was then a 15-year-old schoolboy playing with these big men, and we had just started, the West Indies had just started a junior tournament. It was sponsored by a tobacco factory and tobacco company, and teams were from Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, and Barbados. We were the host, and each team will play 3 games. I was selected to play in the final game. The final game was against Jamaica, and Jamaica had to win in order to win the tournament, and Guyana just needed for us to hold Jamaica so that they could win. Now, my first game, 15-year-old opening bowler, the other partner was Hallam Mosley, who went on to play for Barbados and also for Somerset in the English County Championship. And it was also the days of uncovered pitches. So if it rained, you have a delay, and then when you go up to bat, you have a lot of divots on the pitch, and you had to make sure that they were even before you got going. Well, it came down to the point when we were given, I don't remember how many runs to win, but there were quite a lot. And we had started well, but then we started to lose wickets. The rain had come, the pitch was wet. We had gone off a couple of times, and Jamaica were scenting the victory. And it came to my chance to bat. I would have been batting about number 10 in the team. And I remember as I went out, being told by the Jamaican guys, well, don't stay too long because, we have to win this game and we want to win the tournament. But I had other ideas. I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose the game. And I fought hard and tried to make sure that didn't happen. Now, what also happened was that while we were batting, and I said that the pitch had been impaired, from time to time, I would go down to speak to my partner. And also, I guess you have to say delaying tactics. We would go to the pitch where the ball had struck and we would try to flatten it out and then go back to bat. And then at times we would, as the bowler was coming in, we would want to stop him to, take a guard, ask the umpire for guard again. So a lot of time wasting, it has to be that. Time wasting was done on that game. And basically, my action meant that Guyana won the tournament because I think I would have had to stay there for over an hour. And this is what myself and another partner did. We just made sure that we did not allow them to bowl as many overs or as many balls as they could have to us, so that we had less chance of being out. And at the end of the game, while some of us were celebrating, Jamaicans were not very happy. In fact, while we were batting, there were very many calls for us to, well, I don't know, you know how Jamaicans speak, so the lingo is a little different to the Barbadian, and there was a lot of play on words, and they were not wishing us the best of anything, but we continued and we managed it. Now, after the game, I go back to school. It was during the summer, and I was playing for my school as well. My sports master called me and asked me, what was that all about? So I just said to him that we were just trying to save a game, and that was one of the the ways we would do it, but he was not very impressed. And he immediately banned me for 3 games, which that would have been like 6 weekends of cricket for my action. And his feeling was that it was better that the school did that. But what was also revealing when it come to think about it, that, and this was 1968, by the way, sorry. What was revealing is that in that same year, in a test match in Guyana, England playing the West Indies, they were struggling. And one Alan Knott did exactly the same thing, probably even worse than more than what I did. And he was considered a hero because England was able to save the game. And the papers in England, of course, as I said, he was their savior. He was congratulated for his performance. But here in the West Indies, it was the opposite. We were condemned and it didn't go down well. But such is life. But it has taught me that you should always try to play the game in as fair a way as possible. And I have always tried to do that when I played. And even when I went into coaching, I would tell my guys that you have to respect the game, or at some time the game will not respect you. And I have seen many players who have felt that happen to them. But if you can win, you try to draw the game, but you have to try to do it in a manner that is befitting the cricket. Would I do it again if I had that situation? I don't know, but I would try. Maybe I would try to do it in a different way. Try to smash the ball out to the boundary so that it takes a little bit longer for them to get the ball to bowl to me. So that is one of my memorable moments in cricket. Again, another one would have been 1979, East Africa, playing in Kenya. When we went there and we actually tamed the Kenyans, and my performance was very good then. I got runs, I got wickets, and we beat Kenya in the final game to win the tournament. And we were all very happy, and Raghu will tell you about that too. And we also, when we got back to Zambia, we were accorded a special welcome. And then, like Yusuf, when the Sportsman of the Year came about, I was elected as Sportsman of the Year, and this was 1979. So we've had 2 cricketers who've done that. I don't know if there have been any others who've managed that, but I'm in good company with Yusuf. Thanks, Yusuf, for starting it.
Thank you. Are you still continuing?
No, go ahead. Question.
You still want to continue?
Raza, can I come in for a minute, please?
One moment, please. 1 moment. We'll come to you, Yusuf. Yeah. Do you want to still continue, Bill, or you are finished?
I'm finished. We can start with some questions or so.
Yeah. Okay. No, that will come later on that side. In the meantime, first of all, we will have a look at some of the pictures that you had provided, where I got them from, and you might want to make very brief comments, please. Thank you.
Okay, this would probably be me in 1972 when I first went to Warwickshire. I was on trial for 2 months after leaving school, and Warwickshire sweater, cool day, I guess, and that's me.
Right.
Now,
Very young.
I see in this picture there's Alvin Kalisharan, there's Rohan, Bob Willis. So I think Bob came to the club in 1974. So I guess this was 74. We have Dennis Amis on the left, MJK Smith, and we always would say of MJK, when he came up to bat, we would have a bet that he would score his first run on the leg side, and invariably he would do so. He was such a fine player of from the offside onto the onside. DJ Brown, a good man, fast bowler, captained the team, and also, this is another team photo pre-season. This could probably be 75 or so. Yeah. DJ Brown leading out the team, Rohan Kanai, John Jameson, and there's myself there. There was a game when Jameson and Rohan, John Jameson and Rohan Kanai scored,
Okay.
both scored doubles. We lost our first wicket at 0, and then we declared 400 odd.
Hmm.
I see Billy Abdullah, so this is probably an older one, this Peter Lewington, so I would say maybe this one is 73. Billy Abdullah was Pakistani. Now this is the East African team. Jeff Arno, Raghu on the left, yeah. Myself, Peter Arno, Yusuf Patel, yes, this is a team. It was a good tour, but we didn't perform as well as we should have. I remember Bermuda doing very, very well against us. Yeah.
Mhm.
Another picture of the team, Warwickshire.
That was the last one.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Bill, for all those memories. I'm sure that people who have who are not here today really have missed an interesting episode. But never mind, we will be on YouTube and they can always watch the recording again. Now, since we are only about 14 participants and we have a little bit of time, may I request whoever wishes to speak, but please be very brief, 1 or 2 minutes, not more than that, so that everybody can be accommodated. So who would like to say first? Who would like to speak first? Okay, let me invite Dr. Kulbir Gupta. Please unmute and say a few words, Doctor. Very, very brief, okay? Thank you. Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Rosa. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, when it comes to William Anderson Bourne, if I can call him that, he is known for his striking modesty, if not humility. And Major Hugh Collins, who was the East and Central African Cricket Conference chairman in those days, confided in me by saying that he was dismayed by Williams' approach to the bouncer. And when it came to the bouncer, especially when he bounced the ball, there was no menace behind it like the other fast bowlers. And especially when the bowler William injured a batsman, he was inconsolable. And this is what Hugh Collins confided in me. I just wanted to tell William about this. But his modesty again stretches to the first-class game which he's played in 1973 against Warwickshire. Playing for Warwickshire against Nottinghamshire, which consisted of the great all-rounder Gary Sobers. And in this match, the scoreboard showed Sobers bowled Bourne. Now, when you refer this incident to Bill Bourne, again, his modesty par excellence comes to the fore. You know what he says? He says, it's not much. What happened was, you see, the great all-rounder, he just played on. But the score card will always show Bill Bourne actually bowled out the great player, Gary Sobers. So his modesty is always reflected in his matches. And I don't want to take, I have a few pointers.
Doctor, I don't have much time. If you please would be very, very brief, please. I don't have much time. And there are so many others. Right?
Yeah, okay. And many, in fact, are not aware of the prowess he has, even as a batsman. And in 1976, against Sussex, for that matter, which consisted of John Snow and Tony Greig, Bill scored a century. Now that speaks for his batting talent for that matter. And last but not the least, as a 19-year-old, when he was chosen to represent Barbados, then visiting the schools, playing the schools in England, all the schools in England were vanquished. And he was taken as the fastest bowler then in Barbados. That's it for constraint of time. I wouldn't like to go ahead.
Thank you,
But,
Doctor. Thank you very much.
I wish William.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Good,
Doctor. Yeah, the next speaker will be Surendra Nayak. Surendra, would you like to say something? But please be very brief. Can you unmute yourself, please? Surinder, can you unmute yourself and then say 1 minute? 1 minute. You are given you 1 minute. Surinder, unmute yourself, please. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Right. Unmute yourself, Surinder. Okay, we are having some problem there with Surinder. The next, Bashir, would you like to say something? Unmute yourself, please.
Is it me?
SB.
No, that's him. His voice is not coming through. That's the same thing.
Surinder Nayak, we can't hear you. Can we come back to you later on? Can you? Okay, so can we have Bashir if he wants to say anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, very few things, Yusuf. We played together on many occasions and we communicate, in fact, every week. Am I right, Yusuf? And say a lot of salams to Harun, because I do also communicate with Harun. And Harun, Muslim Ramtullah is remembering you because you hosted him. And I don't know when is Yusuf coming to play golf in Arusha, although he has already promised me. And Bill Bourne, we also played twice, one for the against the Kenyans in Nairobi when they won, and Paramama tournament in Harare, yes. And it's immense, giving me immense pleasure to see you back after almost 35 years. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Bashir.
Thank you. Sorry, I think,
Yes.
sorry, Papa. I think Surendra Bhai has figured out
Yes.
what.
Okay, fine. Get him on.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to say a few words. We played with Yusuf years back, 60 years ago. We are one of the first Indians to play, and he was the first, I was possibly the second, to play for a completely white
I
team.
played with you too.
And I had one interesting incident where Yusuf mentioned Phil Edmonds. I took a hat trick on Copperbelt when Copperbelt B played Midlands. I don't think, Yusuf, you remember, but Phil Edmonds was one of my hat tricks, and that's a feather in my cap. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Surinder will come back. And Chris English, would you like to say something?
Yes, please. Hello, everybody. I'd like to quickly say to both of these gentlemen, it's wonderful to see you again. Yusuf, I played in '75 for Zambia in Kenya, against Kenya, in an unfortunate, very rain-affected quadrangular in Kampala. But it was a moment in the sun for me. I got a fifer against Kenya. So thank you for that opportunity. And of course, I played Copperbelt cricket. So it was nice to see Surendra. I haven't seen him in 50 or 60 years either. And strange enough, Bill, I knew all about Bill because the Jamesons at Warwickshire are very great friends of mine. So I knew about Bill all the time, but I missed him in Zambia. I left Zambia in '76. So I missed him. I think it was about Bill, you might remember, about 3 years ago, he walked into, I live in the Caribbean now, in a country called St. Kitts. And Bill walked into a box while we were watching cricket, and he introduced himself to someone. And I said, "Are you the Bill Bourne that played for Ndola and Warwickshire?" And he nearly dropped down dead. But anyway, we introduced each other and chatted. And he has put me in touch with a lot of the Ndola cricketers I missed, particularly Yusuf Patel. I'm sure Sundar, you must remember him, played
Yes.
at Indore. So now I've reconnected with Kubi and Gan Patidar and all my friends that I play with back in England when I visit. So
In Indore.
it's good to have this thing about Zambia. I just wish Zambia cricket was as good as it was in the 60s and 70s. It's a shame where we are. I hope one day it builds itself back up again. So nice to see you all again.
Thank you.
Chris.
Chris, and thank you for joining. Didn't expect you anyway. But the next person, Jackie McLeod. Jackie McLeod, any connection with DJ McLeod?
Yes, was my father.
Oh my goodness me, because I do remember DJ McLeod with some other very prominent players from South Africa. I'll recollect probably. What would you like to say? And thank you for joining, Jackie. What would you like to say?
Oh, it's been my great privilege to know William for, it feels like 50 years, but it's only been about 2 years, because I think he is one of the most astute cricket minds I've come across. You know, very elegant and understated and humble human being. And we have an interesting history because I head up a cricket group. And I saw King William, as I refer to him, in another group, and I was amazed by his depth of knowledge. And so I hunted King William down to join our cricket group. And I subsequently found out that he and my father's paths had crossed when my father was the manager with Sir Conrad Hunt. And he took the first multiracial South African under-19 team to the West Indies. And at that stage, William was, of course, the coach for Barbados. So their paths had crossed. And subsequently also in our group, there are quite a few names mentioned today. Chris mentioned Jamison's, and Mr. Jamison is in our cricket group as well. And there is a gentleman called Ram who also played against William. And it's the interconnectivity. So I was just interested to sit in because I love hearing anything about William because he is always reluctant to talk about himself. And so it's a great pleasure and a privilege to sit in with you gentlemen. And I love listening to all the stories.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And we hope that we'll see you again in our programs. Just give me your contact address, and then I'll put you on our mailing list. Okay, Jackie.
I shall do.
You know, this 1954 or 1955 cricket, England went to South Africa, and we had, as I mentioned, DJ McLeod and Goddard, DJ McLeod. Oh my goodness, that is history. Anyway, thank you so much. Now we have iPad here. I don't know who it is. Can you please identify yourself and would you like to say something? Can you unmute? iPad. Somebody on iPad, I don't know. Here we are. No?
Yeah, this is Haridas Gadvi.
You would like to say something, sir?
Can you hear me?
We do.
Yes.
We can hear you. Can you say 1 or 2 minutes?
Haridas Gadvi. I used to be in Dar es Salaam and represented Tanzania Cricket Association long time in 1965 to 1970. And I didn't play cricket, but I was in the administration. I was the manager of Tanzania Cricket Association when we won the Menzies Trophy in Nairobi.
1968, yeah.
Okay.
And then I was also the manager went to Zambia. Unfortunately, we couldn't retain the trophy. We lost it, and that's my. And Lutuf Bhatia was the secretary of the Tanzania Cricket Association. That's my Tanzania Cricket Association's relationship. And I was at one stage, I was also the umpire, and I'm a qualified umpire of the East African Cricket Association.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much there.
Thank
Now, I can see Raghuveer.
Yes, Patel.
Is there? Would you like to say something, Raghuveer?
Well, I
Okay.
would say few words, but I would say few words, but I still make sure that I don't want to say about me, but let Yusuf Pathan talks about me, please.
Well, now that is going to be another episode altogether. So just a moment. I still would like to bring in some other people in here. Kishore Gajjar, would you like to say something? Very briefly, Kishore, would you like to say something? You unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
There you go.
Hi, I remember Yusuf Bhai. We played
Yes.
against them in Zambia East African quadrangular.
Yes, yes.
And I also remember Chris English. If I remember, you came to California with one of the teams and you were wearing the Zambian blazer. And
I
I
lived in
asked you, you
California
played
for
for
25
Zambia. And
years,
before
actually.
you was PG
okay.
Nana was the spinner.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Was that you, Chris?
It was me.
Yeah,
I lived in
okay.
California
The
for
memory
25
comes
years
back.
before here.
Yeah, I
Yes.
remember you wearing the green blazer and I recognized.
Long time ago.
Anything
Yes,
else,
and-
Kishore? Anything else?
Yeah, that's all I can remember because I don't know the other
Okay,
parts,
Norman
but I do
Da
remember
Costa.
Surendra and Raghuveer and
Okay,
all these
Norman Da
guys
Costa,
I've
would you
played
like to
with.
say something?
Yes, very well, Kishore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
nice to see all of you guys here, and it's great to see that we're still talking cricket.
Good.
Hi, Rosa, and the rest of the gang.
Please.
Yeah, it's nice to
please.
see Raghuveer after all these years. We played
Yes.
together. We played together at Railway Golden Institute before he went to bigger things. And he went on to represent Kenya and was probably one of the best wicket keepers we ever had. It's nice to see you after all these years, Raghu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Now, who am I missing? Kishore has said, Jackie has said, everybody has said. Would you like, can I, Tanvir, do we miss somebody? Or if anybody wants to speak, please just raise your hand or something. I don't have the full gallery, so
I think we have Charles here. If Charles would like to say
Okay.
something.
Oh yeah, we have Charles here. Charles, would you like to unmute yourself and say one or two sentences? Charles, please unmute yourself.
Charlie, unmute yourself.
Charles, please unmute yourself. And while she's doing that, we only have about 7 minutes before closure, unless you guys are give me the permission to carry on for 1 or 2, 5 or 10 more minutes. If you would like to, just raise your hands. Whoever would like to, otherwise we'll just close it at 3 o'clock. 1, 2, 3 people. Okay, majority counts. 3 o'clock we close. Right. Okay. So Charles, would you like to say something? Charles, unmute yourself. Okay.
I'd like to say one thing before we close.
Excuse me?
I'd like to say one thing before we close.
What is it that, please be very brief? I would like to also cover some other things. Thank you.
This
Yes.
is Yusuf speaking.
Yes, Yusuf, unmute yourself and say one or two sentences. Thank you.
Really, whenever I see Bill, we talk about him, I get very embarrassed because we embarrassed him quite badly. We invited him to come and play for Metros, and the guys from Harare wouldn't allow him to play. And the poor guy came all ready to play. And Bill, I owe you an apology. I did apologize then, and I still remember it, and I feel very, very embarrassed about that incident.
Okay. Now,
Well,
thank you so
at
much.
least-
Thank you so much, Yusuf.
At
Now,
least what it was
Yes.
able to do was come to Lusaka to help train the guys for the tournament. So at least I was involved in Lusaka cricket. So that was good.
Thank you. Now, in the 5 minutes that remaining, may I have the pleasure of narrating one very amusing incident that happened during that 1974 Sir Robert Menzies Trophy. Was it 1974 that you won, Yusuf?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. What happened actually is that the Zambia team had requested for a friendly game. Yusuf, you'll remember this. Bashir probably will remember
Yes.
it. What happened is that Zambian team had requested a friendly game to be played, and we arranged the game to be played against Kinondoni. And
That's right.
We were not. Yusuf, can I please please? Can I please finish?
Yes.
So we, excuse me.
Doing fine.
So what happened is that Zambia lost that game, you know, and Mansukh Jabanputra, the late Mansukh Jabanputra, many will recall this incident. He took 5 wickets. So the grapevine said that, oh my goodness me, Zambia is not a very good side, and you know, speculation was all there. What happened is that Zambia won the trophy. Now their manager, if I'm not mistaken, something by the name of, he went by the name of Jaya Prakash or something like that. I don't remember his name. At the prize giving ceremony, he made some comments that really has etched in my memory. And he said, and this is what I'm quoting. He said, we came, we saw, and we conquered. That was so brilliant of him to have said that. For the interest of you guys, I have a few pictures that I would like to share. Please, can we have the pictures? Thank you. You see, in this picture, you can see some of the players on the left-hand side. 1, 2, 3, and 4 were from Zanzibar. I think they were invited to play. One of the boys, this young man, was a spinner, and he was told to, or he was probably dubbed Kalisharan or something like that. In the middle is myself. Okay, you can recognize me. Next, please. A token being presented by the minister, I can't forget his name, but on the right-hand side is Hamza Kasongo. Next, please. Now that is your manager, Jay some Prakash or something like that. Right? And I think Dr. Patel was the manager for Kenya side, and that's myself. I was the manager for the Tanzania side. Hamza Kasongo. Next slide. Yeah, okay, here we have the late Amusha. He was a secretary at that time. And the others we have mentioned in the previous pictures. Next, please. This is your manager of Zambia site. Okay, next, please. There you go. Navi, I think it is Navin Kanamar, if I'm not mistaken. Next, please. Yeah, there we go. 2 managers and the late Amusha. Next, please. Bashir Tejan, you can see yourself, we're probably having dinner or something like that. And on the left-hand side of the vice president, if I'm not mistaken, of Tanzania Cricket Association, Narendra Raje, a very fine man. I still remember it. And on the right is, that is the group picture of Tanzania site. You can see all the young people down there. Right? And Dr. Kulbir, you can see yourself, and you can see the late Yusuf there, Yusuf Dala. Right. Please. Next, please. Next, please.
That's it. That's all.
We have finished. Oh, yeah. Thank God for that. Okay, gentlemen, we are on schedule. And it now is the time to say thank you to everybody who has participated. Thank you to Yusuf and Bill. And we are delighted to have you with us and hope that you will continue to support us and bring glory to the game of cricket, which we all cherish so much. Please propagate our mission with your many cricket buddies. To all participants for your patience and support. Without you, there wouldn't be this type of virtual programs which brings us together, if not physically, but mentally. It forges the spirit of brotherhood and sense of belonging. To Asif Karim, notably he's absent today for some reason, but he continues to support and he gives us valuable advice. Thank you for Asif. Lastly, but not the least, Mohammed Tanwir Kara for his relentless efforts in directing and producing this event. Gentlemen, we are now 3:01, 1 minute past time. I will now request Tanvir to stop the recording and close the session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.